PSTA board members, Mr. Vince Cox down here, right on the end.
Thank you.
And our city councilor from Clearwater, David Albritton. So welcome and thank you for being here. And we're going to miss our good friend Doreen Caudell, who let me know a few minutes ago today that she wouldn't be able to join us. She's been called off to Tampa. So Mr. Cox replaces Brian Scott on the PSTA board. And David, as I said, represents the city of Clearwater. So without further ado, would Mr. Cox like to lead us in a pledge of allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And so first on our agenda is public comment, and I see that we have a Mr. Carl
Hussenbottle?
Hussenbuttle.
It's a little hard to read.
Carl Hussenbuttle.
He's coming.
I'm sorry. Welcome. Come on up. Wants to talk to us about bus safety, correct?
Yes.
Please continue.
I've lived here in Charles County for 13 years.
Could you give your address, please, for the record?
1345 Park Street, Clearwater.
Thank you.
I lived in Clearwater now for Charles County for about 15 years. And I've noticed recently that bus safety is lacking in a lot of ways. Drivers driving too fast, slamming on the brakes to pull up to the stop, or jamming on the brakes or slamming on the brakes. Going up on curves, having customers park them while they're driving, and distracting them. So I would just like to ask the board to meet with the drivers and discuss with them to be more safer drivers. Also, the buses still do not connect very well as far as like making a connection to get to another bus. I'd have a solution to that problem if somebody in scheduling would like to meet with me, because I think that from a customer service standpoint, that your buses should connect better. People are being late to work, late to class, late to where they need to be. When you have a bus approaching a stop, whether they be a connection or not, I feel that from a customer service standpoint, the board should eliminate a rule that the bus drivers are not allowed to call a bus whether they're connecting or not when you know a bus is leaving. I have a very unique gift. I can see your number one time, the number of it. I know the bus schedule very well here in Nelson County. I feel like when a bus is leaving, it should stop. So I'd like to see scheduling make the buses connect better, because there's no reason why a bus driver can't call a bus when you know that bus is leaving in like 2 minutes, whether it's connection or not, and you know that bus is within 2 minutes of arriving at that destination. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, and I do believe that Cassandra Borges, standing right there, is going to speak with you about your concerns. Thank you, sir. All right, so now I would like to recognize our long-term board member, Mr. Brian Scott. Brian served for 6 years on our board as the county's citizen appointee, and he's been a very hard-working, diligent, and thoughtful member of PSTA's Finance Committee, and he was also vice chair of that committee. He served as vice chair on Forward Pinellas Local Coordinating Board with Patty Johnson. And Brad, would you please come up, Brian, so that we can recognize you?
Sure. So, as the members of the PSA Finance Committee, chaired by Mr. Barkley, know, Brian has been a fantastic member of PSA for 6 years, and on the Finance Committee for 6 years. And many of our discussions often are what comes onto the consent agenda item when we come to the PSTA board, but the Finance Committee goes into some detail on those. Probably 80% of the things that PSTA buys are related to the buses, related to parts and equipment to maintain the buses. And this guy knows more than anyone else, I think, that's ever been on the PSA board about that kind of stuff. So we have many long discussions. Most of the time, I think the other finance committee members and myself sit there, and it's a discussion between Henry, our maintenance director, and Brian, and we don't necessarily know what's being discussed. But beyond that, I really want to thank Brian for his service on PSTA. He has been a very loyal board member to, I don't think he's really hardly ever missed a committee meeting or a board meeting. He's represented Pinellas County very well. He certainly taught me a lot. We've had a lot of great one-on-ones. He is probably number 2 behind Mr. Bill Johnson, who I thought I saw come in in actually opening up my emails that I send on Friday. He's very good at that. So I just want to thank him very, very much for his years of service to PSTA. And then I also just want to introduce Henry is going to give you some pretty interesting gifts.
So I second all of Brad's comments. The one anecdotal story, so I've been here a total of 6 years. So as long as I've been here, I've had a chance to work with Brian Scott on the Finance Committee. And my one anecdotal story is that every Finance Committee, especially where it dealt with buses, equipment, or parts, I would sit prior to the meeting and come up with about 6 fast facts, anticipating whatever questions Brian could throw at me. I can say that in 6 years, I've probably compiled well over 150 fast facts, and I've used none of them. Because Brian would always come up with a new question, and it's always been a good talking with you. We talk shop, as we say in the maintenance side, and it's just been a pleasure presenting items to you and working with you on the finance side. So we do have a couple of things for you. First off is, of course, you can't leave being in the bus industry without your own PSTA bus stop. All right, signed by many members of the PSTA staff, including the maintenance department. And being a person of the bus industry, this is my own gift to you, okay? This is a rare collectible. This is no longer made. This is a die-cast pewter model bus. Diesel, of course. But when you're at home drinking coffee or in your office, you certainly have to drink it out of your own electric BYD coffee cup. So,
Love it.
So, Brian, pleasure. All right, good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I wasn't expecting to leave with gifts today, so this is very, very nice. I appreciate it. The last 6 years has been very rewarding. I very much appreciated the opportunity to be on the PSTA board. I want to thank the County Commission for the opportunity to serve my community. I'm going to miss it for sure. A little different sitting on that side than sitting over there, but it's been great to work with everybody here. Made a lot of great friends, a lot of great relationships, which I hope to continue. And, you know, PSTA has a lot of exciting projects in the pipeline, which I think can be transformative for the Tampa Bay area. So keep up the good work and look forward to the future. So thank you.
Right.
Smile. Henry.
So Brian, a lot of work gets done in Pinellas County by our board appointments, and so I look forward very much to having you come back on one of our other many boards that you would be well positioned to serve on. So thank you very much.
I look forward.
Thank you. And now I'd like to call up Trish Collins to present. I know she's here. Did I not see her? Oh, there you are. Yes, to talk to us about our Leadership PSTA graduates.
Can you help me out? Good morning.
Good morning.
While I mess up our lovely PowerPoint presentation up here, very nice to address you all this morning. I am here to talk a little bit about Leadership PSTA. As you may know, this is our premier leadership development program for our high potential employees. We launched it about 2 years ago, and it was designed as a way to promote our high potential employees' growth and development, as well as to create a pipeline of talent that's ready to move through the ranks and continue to be strong leaders here at PSTA. During that 2 years, the program curriculum has been led and delivered by Tamika White, our Senior Manager of Organizational Development. She has recently taken over the leadership of all of our training and development and organizational development programs here at PSTA. I'm very proud to have her in the HR department leading these programs and helping us be successful going into the future. I would like to introduce Tamika to speak with you a bit about the program, about our graduates from this year's class of 2018, who we are so proud of, as well as to introduce the next class that will be joining our program and going through it in 2019. Tamika.
Thank you. Thank you, Trish, and good morning. It is a privilege to be here this morning to talk to you about our leadership program, as well as to introduce you to our upcoming graduates. If you recall, as Trish mentioned, we did start the program a year ago, and our overall goals were to develop our high potential employees, increase their organizational knowledge, as well as their knowledge of the transit industry at large. We wanted to enhance their leadership skills, as well as to really create more of a culture here at PSTA that embraces cross-functional collaboration. In the end, overall, we also wanted to increase our levels of employee engagement and retention by offering these development opportunities to our employees. So, back in January of this year, 6 amazing emerging leaders accepted the call and stepped up to the plate for Leadership PSTA, and they have been working really hard over the last 10 months. Throughout the journey, they have enjoyed a rich curriculum and development opportunities that include team building activities, facilitated classroom content in monthly workshops that include topics such as communication, coaching, delegating, resolving workplace conflict, and many others. They also had 360 assessments and received professional coaching from a leadership expert. Our curriculum also included internal and external guest speakers who came in and shared their leadership journey with the participants. They've had many public speaking opportunities throughout the last year. They also worked on a capstone project, which we call their Applied Learning Project, which is something that they were already working on in their respective departments, in their current roles, but they were able to use what they learned during Leadership PSTA and apply it to their work that they were currently doing to enhance the performance in that area. They also did a group community impact project, which you'll hear a little bit more about in just a moment. So this amazing group of superstars have certainly emerged as stronger, more confident leaders. We have increased our interdepartmental collaboration throughout the agency. We have a new community partnership with the Ronald McDonald House, which is very exciting. And each participant has enjoyed career growth in each of their respective roles. So I'd like to say congratulations to the class of 2018, and it is my privilege and honor to present them to you at this time. I would ask that you would hold your applause until the end. I'm going to call each one up by name. Craig Daniels from Transportation, Elizabeth O'Hara from Human Resources, Jason Langmeyer from our Risk Department, Raj Singh representing Planning and Scheduling, Julie Lupus from Finance, and Kimberly Leggett from our Mobility and DART department. Thank you. So at this time, Kim is actually going to represent the team and share with you their community impact project. Kim?
Thank you so much, Tamika, for that great introduction for all of us. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Kimberly Leggett. Part of our mission of Leadership PSTA was to use the skills that we've learned in our community project to make a positive impact. As you've heard from our introductions, we all have different backgrounds and we're all from different departments. But together, we combined our efforts and we chose something we were all passionate about. We chose to help the Ronald McDonald House of Tampa Bay. The Ronald McDonald House is a nonprofit organization with houses in Pinellas County that act as homes away from homes for children and families that are served at the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. A lot of the families actually come from other states, and even other countries. We said, wow. As a team, we decided to help in two different ways. Our first way of helping these families was involving everyone here at PSTA. We decided we would fundraise $5,000 to have PSTA employees sponsor a room for 5 years at the Ronald McDonald House West. We exceeded our goal and raised $6,000 to sponsor a room for 6 years. We thank you. We could not have accomplished this milestone without the generous hearts of Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority's employees. We are so thankful and grateful to everyone at PSTA who supported our vision for the Ronald McDonald House Project. This has involved everyone at PSTA in our community project. Brad was so enthusiastic, and we are so grateful to him, that he actually offered to get pied in the face once we met our goal. Our second way of helping the family staying at Ronald McDonald House was to help with the transportation. We decided to figure out a way for the family staying at the Pinellas County Ronald McDonald House to be able to ride our buses for free. This allows the families who are spending most of their time with a sick child to get them from point A to point B for appointments and to make it close, that aren't close to the hospital, and to allow them to go downtown, enjoy our beaches. On October 19th, we have a ribbon cutting event at Ronald McDonald House West. I'm sorry, October 29th. I apologize for the date. And that's sitting in front of you. It's red and yellow. And we hope for you to join us in this positive impact PSTA is making in our community. We thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kim, and great job again, everybody. Also at your places, you have an invitation to our graduation luncheon, which is going to be 1 week from today at Cafe Pont. I'll hang out till the end of the board meeting. If you'd like to see me in back, I'll accept your RSVP. I hope you'll all be able to join us for this wonderful celebration. At this time, we also have some other employees that have stepped up to the challenge for class of 2019. So it is my honor and privilege to introduce them to you, and I look forward to taking them along the journey. They're seated right over here, and if you all would please just stand when I call your name. We have Mark Knight joining us from the Project Management Office, Angeli Baker from Procurement, Terry Evard over in Transportation, representing Customer Service, and Kessia Eugene from Maintenance. We also have Bonnie Epstein from Planning joining us, as well as Mia Cabictine from the Marketing Department, who will be in the class of 2019. So congratulations, and welcome to the Leadership PSTA family. Thank you so much, Brad, and to the board for your continued support of this program. I'd be welcome to answer any questions that you might have at this time. No questions? Okay, thank you.
Well, I would like to know if you could just share with us what the criteria is for getting into the program.
Absolutely. So this program is for our high potential employees, which means that they are performing at a very high level in their respective departments. It also matches up with our succession planning. So these individuals have been identified as next in line for opportunities as they arise to move up within the organization. To apply to the program, they have to complete an application, which includes essay questions. They go through interviews. They also have to have letter of recommendation from their manager, director, or chief. So it is a very competitive process to get into, and we really take pride in the people that step up to the plate.
Good, excellent. Any comments, anyone? No? Well, thank you very much for your very nice presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And now, committee updates are on our agenda. And Gloria, I thought I saw Gloria come in. Oh, there you are, hiding behind the folks in the audience. Welcome this morning.
Thank you. Yeah, let me, down, great, thank you. Okay, good morning, Chair Long, Mr. Miller, and esteemed board members. The track met on October 16th. Our meeting began with a presentation by Rodney Chapman of Forward Pinellas about site development process within Pinellas County. Mr. Chapman highlighted recent development projects that were examples of how builders, developers, and municipalities work together with agencies to ensure the needs of pedestrians, cyclists, and of course transit riders, that they are taken into consideration. This knowledge will help our track members identify and evaluate future Track Star Award nominees. Our first action item was a presentation by Cassandra Borchers regarding the automatic passenger counters, which is on your consent agenda for today. This equipment provides an accurate count of all passengers boarding and departing PSTA and trolley buses. Track unanimously recommended this item for your approval. Then Mike Hansen, Director of Finance, and Shpresa Zenku, Manager of Revenue and Capital Projects, presented a proposed contract with Ready Credit Corporation. When the Flamingo Smart Card program is ready for implementation, it will allow for them to be available for purchase in Publix, Winn-Dixie, 7-Eleven, Amscot, and CVS locations. Again, the track unanimously recommended this item that's on your consent agenda. Our last action item was facilitated by Bob Lasher, Public Engagement Officer, who led the review of our 4 new Track Star Award nominees, who we all unanimously approved to receive this recognition. They are the PNC Bank in Countryside, the Walmart Plaza at Gulf to Bay and Belcher, the Publix Plaza at Gulf to Bay and Belcher also, and those 2 were joint projects with the City of Clearwater. A recognition will go to the City of Clearwater as well. And then an award to the Pinellas Park Public Works for a project specifically at Belcher and 78th Avenue North. In the next few weeks, PSTA staff will arrange for the Track Star Award presentations to be presented at the winning establishments and, if applicable, with the municipal partners. The next track meeting will be held on November 13th, and as always, we invite you to attend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Any questions from anyone? No. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, and now I shall give you the report from the Forward Pinellas Board, which met on October 10th. The Executive Director, Whit Blanton, who I do see sitting in the back of the room, presented on the Advantage Pinellas Initiative and a 5-point plan for enhancing the county's transportation network, especially public transportation. We are looking forward very much to the upcoming January 18th, 2019 shared workshop with the PSTA Board, Forward Pinellas Board, Board of County Commissioners, and the Mayor's Council, where we will explore how we fund needed improvements to public transit and the recommendations from the Regional MPO Coordination Study. Whit, do you know where that meeting is going to be?
We don't have a location yet.
A location to be determined. So speaking of the Regional MPO Coordination Study, the final workshop on looking at the pros and cons of regional MPO workshops is set for this coming Monday, October 29th at 9 a.m. at the Port of Tampa Bay. So hopefully those of you who are interested and or serve on the Finance Committee, please do try and put that on your calendar and attend. The public workshops for the Gateway Mid-County Area Master Plan will be held on November 13th, 14th, and 15th. Do we know where?
Yes.
What? That might be important to share with everyone. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't know the exact locations, but one is in Pinellas Park, one is in St. Petersburg, and one is in Largo. And all those locations are on the Ford Pinellas website, so you can get there by fordpinellas.org. And each one is kind of the same general material, but focused on the specific communities, and they're part of the study area. But I don't have the exact location right here, but it's on our website.
Terrific.
Thank
Thank you for the information. So this plan is going to include recommendations to significantly improve public transit services in the Gateway area, which is the region of Pinellas County where we are right now at PSTA's headquarters. Workshop information is going to be available on the Forward Pinellas website, so please look that up and hopefully you will be able to attend. Now, as for T-BARTA, there's really exciting news to share because we, as I think you may know, have hired a new executive director by the name of David Green. His first day is this coming Friday, and we have great expectations for this gentleman to take our transit issues and actually solve them over the next few years. David comes mostly from Richmond, Virginia, where he served as that transit agency's CEO, and he has significant experience implementing projects just like T-BARTA will be tasked with doing. Brad and I have had the opportunity to have dinner with David and found it a very robust and stimulating conversation from both sides. The T-BARTA Legislative Committee met on September 14th and developed a consensus on advancing several legislative positions for the 2019 state legislative session that you will also see parallel on the PSTA legislative agenda. Additionally, the committee agreed on a strategy to piggyback off of PSTA's state government affairs contract with RSA Consultants, and Ron Pierce and Natalie are sitting there in the audience, for 1 year, the upcoming 2019 state legislative session, and then to competitively procure T-BARTA's own public advocacy group after the first year. At the same time, PSTA is assisting T-BARTA by procuring its own federal advocacy group with an RFP that is soon to be out on the street, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The T-BARTA board has an adopted, balanced, thank you, Debbie Leos, FY 2019 budget as presented by Debbie. And we're very, very proud of that because at the end of next year, we're looking forward to a little bit of an overage to help start building reserves. So thank you. Brad, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you covered it.
All right. Now we will take up our consent agenda, and if I could have a motion, please, for consent. Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Gerard moved and Commissioner Eggers seconded it. Please open the voting card. And everyone cast your votes. I'm still waiting for my card to come up. Well, I am voting in the affirmative. David?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
There you go. Yes.
Action item is.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
At your places, in your in your packet, and then at your places are 2 pages that look like this, or in color, that outline the recommended PSTA legislative priorities for 2019 for both the state and federal levels of government. What I'll do is just quickly highlight what the items are, and then I will hand it over to Ron Pierce with RSA Consultants, who's our state legislative affairs consultant, who will sort of describe to you the strategy that we hope to employ to implement these, to get these things successfully approved by the state legislature next spring. So they look very similar for now. First, I'll just quickly highlight the state ones, which start with transportation disadvantaged, Commissioner Patty Johnson's favorite topic, which is at the top of our list, again, to advocate. We are sort of leading the state in a number of initiatives with transportation disadvantage, and we'd like to be able to continue that with continued support for that program. Paratransit is on the list also for the state on an issue we think that the state can help us with. As you know, our paratransit ridership is at an all-time high and keeps growing, and part of that is because Medicaid recipients are now riding on paratransit rather than being funded by Medicaid. And then 2 holdovers from years past on Clearwater Beach, the busway over to the beach, and then additional funding to support express bus service from the beach. On the back of that same sheet of paper is the TBARTA legislative priorities for 2019 that the Legislative Committee of PSTA asked us to support as well. You can see there is ongoing funding for TBARTA operations to give them a strong financial backing. The regional 41-mile premium transit project that is going to go to the TBARTA board in November for approval, and then move forward into the next phases of development, and then some sort of efficiency improvements to the way the TBARTA board operates. You know, they're a much larger board, and they have some different issues that are different than PSTA. You can see by the picture that they've often been holding their meetings right where we're sitting now here at PSTA, which is one efficiency, but we think the legislature can help us with some others. Let me just quickly highlight on the other piece of paper, which is our federal legislative agenda, that most of the items you've seen before. Our number 1 priority at the federal level continues to be, and probably will be for the next 2 years, to secure funding for the Central Avenue BRT project. We've got counting the TNCs for rides and some other items on there. With that, I'd just like to call up Ron to say a few words about, this is the recommended agenda that the Legislative Committee has unanimously recommended, and then we have to have a very strong strategy with our legislature to achieve success.
Awesome. Thank you, Brad. Madam Chair, board members, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. In addition, by the way, to what's on the agenda, let's also not forget about one of the things we do for you in Tallahassee is we also monitor for challenges that may come up. A lot of times during session, somebody will file a piece of legislation or an appropriations may hit that could have a direct impact on PSTA. So in addition to what's on the agenda, we also monitor to make sure that anything that could impact us, we're taking action as needed, working with the chair and also with Brad and the team. Laying out strategy, number 1, we have to get past November the 6th, so let's get through the election. Remember, we have a new incoming Senate President and a new Speaker of the Florida House, and because of that, we're going to have new chairs, we're going to do committee assignments, and so once we kind of know what the layout is from a chairmanship standpoint, also know kind of where we stand from a committee assignment standpoint, we'll start meeting with key members in Tallahassee. In addition to that, one of the things we're going to start doing immediately is meeting with members of the Pinellas County delegation, not only here, but also in Tallahassee. The last couple of years, we've done 2 trips to Tallahassee. As a board, I think it's been very well attended. We're going to continue to do that, probably do 1 trip in January with the date yet to be determined, and probably 1 in March as well. Just to kind of remind everyone of the calendar, since it's an election year, November 6th is the election. 2 weeks later is organizational session. There'll be 1 committee week in December, 2 in January, 3 in February, and session starts during its traditional time in March. But remember, 2020, we go back to the early session. So when we go back in Tallahassee starting in January, it's almost as if we'll be in kind of a session mode for almost 15 months, because once we get through session starting in May, when it ends, we'll start committee weeks again as early as September, and the 2020 legislative session will start in the middle of January. So next year, our legislative agenda will have to be done probably over the summer, early fall, for us to be prepared for the early session. The one good thing about our agenda is we're very well positioned from a legislative strategy is having key members coming out of the Tampa Bay area. Senator Bill Galvano will be the next Senate President from Manatee and obviously a portion of Hillsborough. Chris Sprowls from Pinellas County will be Speaker in 2 years. Wilton Simpson from up in Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties will be the Senate President at the same time. Chris Sprowls is Speaker. So we have some key leadership coming out of the Tampa Bay area. I want to hit briefly on the importance of having T-BARTA on our agenda. I hope all of you realize the amount of work that Brad, Cassandra, and Debbie has done with regard to a budget standpoint, from a legislative agenda standpoint, and just from an operating standpoint, getting T-BARTA where they need to be. We're very looking forward to the opportunity to have them piggyback and use RSA for next session. On their agenda, one of the things we need to talk about is I want to make sure the legislative delegation, also key members of the legislative leadership in Tallahassee, know that PSTA has been very involved in helping T-BARTA, and they should know that. From a staff standpoint and also obviously from a legislative standpoint, we'll be very involved in that process as well. From a T-BARTA standpoint, we've already begun outreach to Senator Galvano. He's somebody that believes very much in regional projects and regional transportation, and he'll be instrumental to try to getting that recurring funding for T-BARTA moving forward for the $1.5 million. So I will stop there. Again, from a strategy standpoint, we'll continue to roll out some ideas, working with the Legislative Committee in November and December, and be ready to hit the ground running come January. Any questions?
Anyone? You're awfully quiet today.
They're beginning to scare me.
Question.
Commissioner Rice.
Thank you. I'm just trying to make sense of this one-pager. So we have on one side 3 legislative priorities that are kind of yellow-colored, gold-colored, and on the back there's 4 other priorities. How?
One's T-BARTA and one's PSTA.
Got it. Okay,
Yellow,
thank you.
T-BARTA.
Thank you.
All right.
That was it. Thank you.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I just really wanted to make a comment about the involvement of PSTA. I'm glad you said that. And, you know, we're always trying to talk in this county about kind of a regional approach to transit and transportation. And I think this is another example where Pinellas County is stepping up and assisting. You know, there are some that would say we shouldn't be using any tax dollars outside of our county, and yet this is a commitment to our county when we talk about regional implementation, transportation and transit. So just for the record, I just wanted to again point out that I think Pinellas County is stepping up, so thank you.
And I think that's a really great pitch that Commissioner Eggers just spoke about with regard to how to communicate the importance of transit and transit cooperation in our region.
Yes, ma'am.
So don't forget.
Madam Chair.
Got it.
Yes, Commissioner Eggers, Justice, sorry.
We see too much of each other.
Yes, seriously.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, to piggyback on that issue, when you've had those conversations with Senator Galvano and others, I mean, are we sensing, and you talked about having the support of the Pinellas legislative delegation, what about the other legislative delegations, and can you see a role for Senator Galvano to help encourage some of that other support from other counties and other entities like ours?
Madam Chair, thank you. Absolutely, Commissioner. So number one, he was instrumental in getting the dollars last year in the budget for T-BARTA. He's already committed to try to do that again on the Senate side. I think we've got a commitment from not only the Pinellas County delegation, but we've also been talking to other members in Hillsborough, in Pasco County as well, and I think we'll have a commitment there. On the House side, we have a meeting actually with Representative Sprouse in the near future to talk about getting his commitment to make sure that most likely, if I had to guess, it will end up in the initial Senate budget. It will go into conference that way. We'll have to get the House to come to the Senate position, and I'm confident with the leadership we have coming from Tampa Bay, we'll be able to do that.
But, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Also with helping them or encouraging them, Galvano and Sprouse and others, to encourage our partners across the Bay and other counties, Hart and others, to be just as engaged and supportive as we have been.
Noted. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Because you may or may not know, Ron, I don't remember if you were with us when we started the initiative and had an interlocal memorandum of understanding that was working really, really well in terms of our procurement. And what was the other thing we worked with?
Risk management.
What?
Risk management.
And risk management. And as of late, folks on the other side of the bay have been reluctant to continue with that agreement. And in terms of the taxpayers and the public money, we were getting more bang for our buck, so it just doesn't even make sense. And maybe if you have an opportunity to kind of smooth that and help us continue it, that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Anybody else? No? Thank you very much. Why don't you?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, and so may I have a motion, please, to approve the state legislative priorities as well as the federal ones?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Rachel, could you please open the voting card? The motion passes. Thank you. Unanimously. Pleased to learn last Friday that PSTA's largest union, the SEIU, overwhelmingly voted to ratify this agreement we are being presented with today. As I understand it, the PSTA Finance Committee also recommended its approval. Mr. Barkley, do you have any comments to make with regard to that?
Yes, the committee was very pleased to see that a 3-year labor agreement effective October 1st, 2018 was settled within budget. The minimum hourly starting rate for all bargaining employees is raised to at least $13 to help attract new employees and to be competitive. In addition, bus operator starting hourly rates will be $15 and mechanics will be $17. Even with these raises, I should point out that PSTA is in the middle of the pack in terms of comparison with other Florida agencies. The top step employee pay raises increases will be at 3.5%, 3%, and 3% for each year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mr. Bradford.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, and good morning to the PSTA board members. My name is James Bradford, Chief Operating Officer. Joined with me today is the Chief of Staff for SEIU and Florida Public Services Union, Rick Smith, and we have Directors of Transportation and Maintenance, Jeff Thompson and Henry LeCassick, who were a big integral part, all three, of reaching this final agreement. So we're pleased. I'm always pleased to be able to come and present this particular item to you, because that means we have done it once again. We have reached a partnership with our union, with our men and women who make this place amazing and strong out there for our customers. And so I'm pleased to kind of go through some of the highlights of this last contract negotiations for you. So just to give you a little bit of a background, this approval will represent a new 3-year contract for our frontline employees. And when I say our frontline employees, those are the folks who are directly in contact with our customers and who are directly in contact working with our buses. So here's how that looks. The frontline employee, this particular contract represents one of PSTA's 2 unions. I was here before you last year to get the final ratification done for our supervisors, a group of about 30 people. This particular contract spans 460 of PSTA's over 600 employees. That includes bus operators, which is the largest group, at over 370 employees. Customer service representatives, we always abbreviate, it says CSRs up there, and our mechanics. The full tentative agreement was reached on October 2nd, and what that means is that both negotiating parties for the union and for PSTA side just reached a full tentative agreement on all the proposals that were exchanged during negotiations. I am pleased to say that last Friday, SEIU ratified their portion of this agreement with a vote of 281 to 16, which may be a record for us. And again, that was last Friday on October 19th, so they definitely find it favorable indeed. So your approval would represent the final step in full ratification. And once again, I'm always pleased to announce, and Debbie Leas will be pleased to hear me announce that this new 3-year contract is, of course, is within PSA's 3-year projected budget. Just at a glance to let you know who all these employees are that this contract represents. Frontline employees, bus operators, of course, as you can see up there, customer service representatives who are out there answering the phone calls in our phone room, and then they're at the terminals selling passes and answering inquiries. Our maintenance, who's in split into 2 different divisions, our fleet division there, the technicians, service attendants, and inventory control clerks who maintain our buses, clean and fuel our vehicles, and receive and distribute our purchases and supplies. And then the maintenance facilities division, who maintain the building, all of our amenities, all of our property area, everything from top to bottom, from tip to tail. You have the technicians, the maintainers, and the cleaners. PSTA and SEIU, the main focus during bargaining, at least for PSTA, of course, looking forward, we're seeing a lot of people 20, 25, 30 years start to retire. So for us, we want to be sustainable. We want to continue to bring in qualified applicants. So recruiting, hiring, and retention were key items for us. Of course, we want to remain competitive, but also fiscally responsible, staying within our budget, but doing our best to give wage increases. As we know, the cost of living increases every year for our folks on 40 hours. We want people to be able to come in here, work, and then be able to take care of their home life and their family on the wages we provide for them. Performance-driven improvements, of course, is what management and PSA always looks for. We look for accountability. We're increasing wages every year. We want to get the best of the best. We want folks to follow our rules. We want the customers to see that these changes to our work rules, they feel the effects and delivering a good product, something they can rely on. So here's how the best and final looks for pay provisions. And just a quick note, negotiations for us span 4 months, 12 sessions, which is about our average, and over 98 proposals were exchanged. As Commissioner Barkley mentioned, in the first year, in FY19, the increase is going to be 3.25%. In years 2 and 3, it'll be 3%. We're very proud of this next point, which is all of our minimum starting wages for this group will be $13. So the days of $10.63 and $11.13 and 12 and change, all that has changed. We have risen our bus operators' rates from $12.85 to $15 an hour, which is remarkable and would go a long way for recruiting and bringing in qualified applicants. And we have raised the starting rate for mechanics from $14.44 to $17. And we're very pleased with that, and the union really stepped up and partnered with us on that. So here's a chart of how the new proposal rates will look. When you enter as a new bargaining employee, you go through a wage progression. So if you look at that first column where it says number 1 and you go all the way down, it's a wage progression scale. So they enter at a step 1, and they get an increase every 12 months, and that does help with retention. So if you look at column 1, bus operators starting at $15, customer service reps starting at $13, and then over the next 4.5 years, they will reach top rate. And the reason I point that out is because when we talk about the 3.25%, the 3% in years 2 or 3, those increases are only for the employees who are at the top rate, not necessarily for the entry employees who have a built-in wage progression. For maintenance, this is how it looks like. If you look at column 1, as again, you'll see mechanics starting at 17, and you go all the way down there to the very bottom where it says surface attendants start at 13, and then they progress over the next 24 months till they reach top rate as well. This chart just shows you that the folks who are already in the very top step, what their wages will look like. So if you look at the FY19 column and go down, again, you see the new rate for bus operators is $23.59, and it just goes all the way down, and it shows you those rates, the top rates for folks who've been here for 4.5+ years and who have done their time and made it to the top. These are what their new wages will look like, and then, of course, in FY20 and FY21. Here's how we stack up against our fellow Florida agencies. We always remain in the top 5. We do very well. We are not, Broward County and West Palm, Miami, certainly larger agencies, been at this for a while with their contract negotiations, larger operating budgets. But as you can see, we're very comparable, especially with Hart, which is right below us at $22.90. They are actually in collective bargaining right now, so when they conclude, and I actually spoke to the Hart COO the other day, they'll be neck and neck with us, either right near us or right exactly where we're at as well. Same thing with the mechanics. If you look on this chart again, top 5, so we do well, staying amongst our fellow agencies, keeping pace, but also doing our best to have good competitive and strong wages for our maintenance team. Now, when we were in the Finance Committee meeting a couple of weeks ago, Commissioner Eggers actually made an excellent inquiry about, in addition to the wages and how it stacks up and compares with the other Florida agencies, the other added value in the form of benefits, health benefits, retirement, how does that compare with some of the other agencies? So I was able to pull together just a small sample size, reaching out to some of these groups and or looking through their contracts. And as you can see, if you look on the right part of that chart, just with all the check marks there, in terms of offering vacation leave and sick leave, paid holidays, we're in step. Everyone's offering some type of plan. Retirement or pension, everybody offers either or. At PSTA, we offer an investment plan and a pension plan through FRS, and also a deferred compensation plan through ICMA. Dental, life, offered as well. Tuition reimbursement, Hart and PSTA offer those that I can confirm. Not to say the other agencies don't, when I look through their contracts, I didn't see it. Now, if you look in the middle of that chart in the dark blue, what that represents specifically is the medical health insurance, and it says employer's contribution as a % of total, and there's 2 columns, single and family. What that is saying is that the company is paying that portion of the premium, of the annual premium. So, for example, if I'm an employee and I have just coverage for myself, PSTA is paying 94% of my premium, and then it's up to me to pay for the additional 6% out of my biweekly paycheck in some forms. There's 26 paychecks a year. For the family, PSTA pays 65% towards their premium. That's a plan that I'm in. Not many people. I think there's only 30 people or so out of 600 people in that family plan or so. So that's how that goes. And then if you go down the chart, you can see the various, the different percentages, totals by some of the other agencies. Now, and you also have to keep in mind, they're all different insurers. They're different annual premiums. All these agencies have different claim histories. They have different plan participants on there and different dependents. I think a wider sample size, and nationally, I took a look, we're right in line with a lot of the agencies from east to west coast in there. So that's just a little bit about that slide, and that's how we stack up, just with some of a few of the other agencies in Florida. I'm going to wind this down here. These are some of the other contract highlights. You can see the PSTA column check marks and the SEIU column check marks. Again, getting those starting wages up so we could have a better livable wage for folks when we hire them and keep them and retain them long term. Stringent safety procedures for us, customer service enhancement, all in the form of rule changes, distracted driving, are we straining people at the stop, taking care of all those type of things that add up, especially in the customer's eyes. Performance-based progression, which you really see in maintenance with their new 2-year training program and their ASC certification requirements in order to move up to a Tech 3 if you want to further your ability to earn more and have more responsibility, especially as we take on advanced technology and hybrid electric buses and electric buses. We have to get some really skilled and trained and qualified folks in here to be able to do that. On the SEIU side, of course, wage and allowances, always wages and working conditions that the union try to finalize, additional flexible vacation and holiday use, how they take their off time, just giving them greater controls. And then we have some MOUs on greater work schedule controls and health insurance guarantees, which just tells the union and our bargaining employees that we will sit down throughout the year as we are planning people's future out, whether it's their schedule every 4 months or so, and or how the new renewal of the insurance is going to be, whatever input they have, whether it's on prescription drugs or on-site nurse or different things of that. There's a lot of ideas out there, and we want to hear those. And again, I'm always pleased and proud to say that this agreement, as great as it is for all of us, is within PSA's 3-year projected budget. Rick Smith, if you have a few words you'd like to say, and then, of course, we'll take questions.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This doesn't just happen. There's a method to the madness, so to speak. And I think it's worth just briefly to go into it, how this really...
Rick,
yes.
could you just say your name and
Rick
your
Smith.
address for the...
Yes.
And tell people who you are that don't know.
Okay, my name is Rick Smith. It's not quite correct that I'm the chief of staff anymore. I'm actually in a period of semi-retirement at this point, but I wanted to continue at PSTA and at some other places. So I do negotiations, political work, etc. Like I said, this doesn't just happen. In particular, I think it's worth looking at it just very briefly. In a time where we seem to break into tribal identities and fight each other. It's not the way it works here. Both management and union agree here that it is our common purpose through the framework of the contract to work together to advance the long-term role of PSTA, which is to provide excellent public transportation efficiently and economically. If you don't have that basis, you don't move very much further. We also understand in the broadest sense of the term that the authority works through a cooperative process among the board, administrators, citizens, riders, and this contract shows that workers are a valued participant in the process. And it does work well, mainly because we share a commitment to reasoned discourse in resolving problems like retention and recruitment of employees. Took care of it. Efficient routing and scheduling, safety of the public and employees, and maintaining health, and frankly, stopping the slide of higher premiums and deductibles. A lot of you are politicians and know that's the main issue that you're hearing out there. We listen to each other persistently and pay careful attention to facts and concerns from both sides, always striving to reach consensus. It's a way to work things. In sum, we're successful because we agree on principles and standards, which when applied, lead to common sense solutions. And we create the mechanisms to reach those solutions in the spirit of cooperation, mutual respect, and the continuing movement towards a better life for workers at PSTA and all residents of Pinellas County. That's really how we do it. And I think it's a good model of problem solving and how to work for the better public good. So thank you all for your continued support. And we were very happy to see those numbers come up last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And Rick downplays his role, but he's a very integral part in leading the union here and actually leading a successful partnership which both and I have done for the past 5 years. And I just want to remind you all, after immediately following the board meeting today, we will be doing a signing event out there. We'll have some words from our Madam Chair, Brad Miller, and Rick Smith as well. So we do invite you all to join us following the meeting. So without further ado, I'll take any questions you all may have.
Questions? Yes, Commissioner Barkley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For those of you who don't know, I'm the Finance Chair. I'd like to congratulate James and his team, and also Rick Smith and his team. I've been the Finance Chair for a number of years now, and we have gone through negotiations with various groups periodically. And I'd like to thank you both, first of all, for having an amicable settlement in this process, but secondly, for doing it in a way where we, as the Finance Committee, were kept informed as to what is happening throughout the negotiating process, because this helps us to understand better where things are headed as far as benefits, wages, et cetera, are heading. And this means a lot to PSTA in terms of budgeting. It means a lot to PSTA in terms of quality service for our customers. And I want to thank again you both and your teams, including the folks who are actually on the job doing the daily work, for approving this contract in an amicable and very timely way.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else, members? No one? Thank you very much, James.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And now may I have a motion, please?
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, and before we take our vote, are there any members of the public that wish to speak? Seeing none, please open the voting card, Rachel. Are we missing someone? There we go. Very good. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Ceremony out in the lobby, and we invite you all to participate and not miss the photo opportunities. Brad, do you want to talk about our information items, please? The community, customer, and employee survey?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, as most of you on the PSA know, we have implemented over the past year our performance scorecard system, where we're monitoring our performance on all different aspects of PSTA's operations. Part of that scorecard initiative has us completing 3 surveys, which we just completed for the first time this past year, but we hope to continue and repeat those surveys from year to year and see improved performance. So this first informational item is a summary of our, now we have the results from all 3 surveys back in, and I'll just ask the folks that conducted the surveys to give a very brief just summary of what has turned out to be very positive results from 3 different constituencies we aim to serve. Number 1, the community at large, non-riders, the taxpayers of Pinellas County, and seeing if they support or value public transportation. Number 2 is our riders, our customers, of course, whether they are very supportive of the services we provide, and then, as was just described with our labor negotiation, our employees and how engaged they are. So I would like to first call up Miss Sarah Lindenmouth from HCP Associates, who conducted our community survey.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me this morning. This was an exciting survey to field. You have conducted a number of studies in the past of different groups, but this was one of the first to tap into the community of non-routine riders to really get an idea of what the sentiments of the public at large were that weren't currently using your services. So I'll skip through a lot of this. Brad did cover, and there is a full report behind everything, so I won't bore you with all the details. What I do think that's important to tell you is that this was a telephonic survey. We did everything that we could in order to achieve a sufficient margin of error. You want 5%. We reached just under 3.5, so that's great. Our length of interview was at a very positive level, under 10 minutes. And we took steps to monitor demographics and the geography of who we were surveying, again, to make sure that we had a representative sample. What we really want to spend our time this morning is covering the telephonic research phase. We jumped into the survey asking top-of-mind awareness questions. So we wanted to know, before we start to ask individuals about their basis of understanding the organization, what do they know the organization? Are they familiar with the name, and is that top-of-mind awareness in place? And we found the answer to that question was yes. So asking, can you recall Pinellas County's transit organization by name? 2 in 3 could. When we probed, can you provide that name? 99% accurately did so. The 1 in 3 that were remaining were given the PSTA, the acronym, as well as the name of the organization, and 80% after hearing that did recognize the name. So you have very high top-of-mind awareness, whether that comes from aided or unaided awareness. After that, we gave another open-ended question that tapped into what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of PSTA. Now that we knew that the awareness and familiarization was high with the organization, what are those top-of-mind factors? Bus company, public transit, and Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority were the top 3 comments. And a positive note that in our initial diligence, we found a survey from 2007 that had a similarly positioned question, open-ended, and the share that said nothing in the current study was 5%, and that was actually 25% in 2007. So your familiarity and your awareness and your accurate awareness of what the organization is in place to do has gone up, so that's a great thing to see. What I do want to point out is this is almost an oversimplification of what you do. The number 1, far and away, is bus company, and you do more than just that. So that's something to keep in mind, that while there is high accurate awareness of what you do, it's limited in the true scope of what you do. Yes or no question here. Are you familiar with the following programs, services, and amenities? So this is kind of a baseline metric so that you can see what the community awareness is of those services, knowing that these are not routine users. They may have used 1 or 2 or all at some point, but not on a routine basis. Community sentiments. On a 7-point scale, we had the respondents indicate how well they felt that PSTA was serving different segments of the community. On the far right, you see the percentage that gave a 7 rating, and in the middle, a rating of 4 to 7, so positive ratings on the scale. And you can see that there's a correlation between this and the programs that we looked at in the prior slide. If you're not familiar with the programs, you may tend to see a lower level of catering to a specific group that program would serve. Community sentiments, we asked how important are a series of topics that we collaborated with the PSTA staff to develop. These are things that the organization wanted to be delivering to the public. How important are these to make sure that they were the right metrics, and the responses back were by and large, yes, they are very, very appropriate. And then how satisfied are you with how well PSTA is delivering? So what you see there is the gaps on the left-hand side are the areas where there's the greatest room for improvement. So creating safe places for riders to wait, offering reasonable wait times, and alleviating traffic congestion. Those are the top 3 largest expectation gaps. Okay. We pulled from your Path Forward document the 4 of the statements from within that, and we tested them against the public just as, again, a baseline to see the level of agreement with PSTA delivering on each. And 79% agreed that PSTA, the mission statement, connects people with the places that they want to go. 76% provides effective financially viable public transit. 70% PSTA delivers customer-oriented public transit services, and 63% provides effective Pinellas transportation leadership. So again, baseline measures for you to use in scorecard metrics and strategic planning sessions from here forward. This was a really strong finding for the organization. The question posed was, what is your reaction to the following statement? PSTA delivers a valuable service to the residents of Pinellas County. 90% agree with that statement. So that's very high accolades for what you're doing and how the community sees what you're doing. Wrapping up, we asked you support the use of tax dollars to improve the county's public transit infrastructure. 90% were in support of this, and likely tags on to the 90% figure that we saw in the prior slide of providing value to the Pinellas County citizens. And just to wrap up some of the highlights that we covered, when you combine aided and unaided awareness of PSTA, you're at 94% of the population being aware of the organization. 90% believe that PSTA delivers value. 92% support the use of tax dollars to improve Pinellas County's transit infrastructure. And on the path forward statements, there was very strong support between 6 and 7 and 10 were supportive of those path forward statements. And just a quick summary, again, I encourage you to look into the full report for any additional information, but there's strong recognition of PSTA as Pinellas County's transit organization. Awareness of the bus service is very high. The community possesses minimal knowledge of many of the programs and services PSTA is providing, so again, that's challenging some of the scope. So that 90% could be 95%. The responses indicate disconnect between the branding of the service and the service delivery. Again, we're seeing if you don't know about a service, you can't possibly be a proponent of it or a user of it. The respondents positively reflected on PSTA's Path Forward initiatives, and the majority of the community sees PSTA providing value. And looking at, again, that graph that showed the importance and the satisfaction, the relation between those two, the biggest areas for improvement, so the lowest areas of satisfaction were safe places to wait times, alleviating traffic congestion, cleanliness of vehicles, and stewardship of public dollars. So that's a very brief summary.
Commissioner Eggers and then Commissioner Barkley.
Yeah, real quick, thank you. So far, great news. When you said this was statistically relevant to the community, so it wasn't necessarily customers, it could have been some customers mixed in, but it wasn't directed just at customers, and was it spread out throughout the county?
To your last question, yes, we did have representation in all areas of the county. That was something we were tracking on the back end to make sure it was statistically valid. I'm sorry, can you repeat your first?
Well, I was just curious about, you know, how this was being spread out throughout the county, you know, just in general.
We had a minimum base of 200 responses that we collected in 4 different areas of the county, and then when we looked at the results as an aggregate, we weighted it appropriately so that each portion was appropriately representative of the share of the population of that particular area.
That was my main concern. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you also specifically excluded any regular riders.
I'm sorry. Yes, that was the first part of your question. The survey was focused on on only non-routine riders. So if someone was taking the bus or any of the services on a regular basis, they were excluded because they would be captured in the customer satisfaction survey. So this was a way to kind of tap into the balance.
Thank you. Commissioner Barkley?
Yes. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. On the top of mind awareness chart that you had, you mentioned that survey people who knew nothing about PSTA was 5%, but in your prior survey it was 25%. Did you have any kind of a follow-up question to find out what that differential was caused by? I mean, is it advertising, seeing the PSTA signs on the side of the bus? I mean, what kinds of things could we work on to get other people to be more aware of PSTA?
The survey that the 25% stat came from was conducted by a different agency, so on behalf of PSTA, so I don't have all of the details. It was a telephonic methodology and it was an open-ended question just like this was. So it appears to be fairly apples to apples. I would have to speculate if I'm attributing what that decline in saying nothing, I'm aware of nothing.
There was no follow-up question for that?
No, this was just what's your top of mind knowledge of
all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Commissioner Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking at the report on page 21 of the geographic locations and the segmentation. Is there any additional information as far as where the respondents were clustered within those groups? Because you have 4 main segments. Is that information available?
I believe we do have the zip code. I believe we collected that on the respondents. So we would be able to do a map of where each individual came from.
Yeah, 'cause
at the zip code level, not specific.
Right, no, I understand that. It'd be interesting to see that because I understand that, while in the same group, respondents at 33702 on the east side of St. Pete are going to be much different than the ones in, 33776 in Seminole, even though they're in the same group.
Sure,
So
we can provide
understanding
that.
how that plays out would be helpful.
Okay, absolutely.
Anyone else? Any further questions on this survey issue? Brad, the parts of this survey lead me to ask you if you could give us an update on where we are with those municipalities who are not participating in PSTA, even though the buses run through the municipalities.
That's a great question. All these are great questions. A reminder, we have 2 more surveys to go through. So we could talk about St. Pete Beach and Treasure Island for quite a while. I would say we are making pretty good progress with, the city of St. Pete Beach to support our transit services that they pay for out of their own budget. And we really haven't had much discussion with the city of Treasure Island other than that they approved our continuing supporting out of their budget the trolley that runs through their city. So it's pretty much a status quo with those 2 cities. I think they were part of the survey, or they weren't excluded from the survey, and they do have riders in their areas, and we could certainly have a further discussion on that item.
Well, let's do that when we get to our strategic planning.
If there's no other questions on the community survey, I would like to bring up Miss Gail Pavick from TransPro to give a brief summary of our customer survey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Gail Pavick. I'm with TransPro Consulting. Thank you for inviting me today to present the results of the Voice of the Customer Satisfaction Survey for both fixed route and DART paratransit customers and their responses. Let's begin with fixed route. This survey was managed out of the Grand Central Station location on Central Ave in South St. Pete, beginning on Monday, July 9th, and going through Sunday, July 15th. 534 surveys were completed while riding PSTA buses and at transit stops throughout Pinellas County at all times of the day during the weekdays, Saturday, and Sunday. The results were compared with the results to the Wave 1 survey conducted in November 2015. Based on PSTA's ridership totals, this survey sample is statistically valid at a confidence level of 95% and a confidence interval of 4.26%. Customers were offered a 1-day free bus pass as an incentive to take this survey. This is some overview results. PSTA's Net Promoter Score for fixed route was 47.9, which was a 50% higher than industry average and 50% higher than the Wave 1 survey back in 2015. On-time performance and fares are the most important elements of service for your customers. All satisfaction metrics, I repeat, all satisfaction metrics increased in Wave 2 versus the last survey back in 2015. Customers are most satisfied, 92%, with feeling safe on the bus. Customers are least satisfied, 68%, with on-time performance. This is the NPS screen showing 48% versus compared to industry average at 32%. And just so you all know, NPS stands for Net Promoter Score. This metric was introduced by Harvard Business Review in 2003, and it's trademarked. This is the most essential question that has been proven to be the ultimate gauge of customer satisfaction and is a true indicator of how agencies or a business entity is doing. It assesses loyalty and word-of-mouth favorability among customers and it allows performance comparisons between organizations across different business sectors. It asks the ultimate question of, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being very unlikely and 10 being very likely, all things considered, how likely would you be to recommend riding a PSTA bus to a friend or a neighbor? We then take the promoters, those responding 9 or 10, and we subtract the detractors, those scoring 0 to 6, and thus we come up with the Net Promoter Score. So that's, and you guys did great on this, so hats off. When asked the question, how satisfied are you with the overall bus service, 11.5% more customers are satisfied or very satisfied with PSTA service in Wave 2 versus the last wave in 2015. In the past year, has the bus service improved, stayed the same, or gotten worse? 41% of your customers believe the service has improved over the last year, also an increase from the last wave. This is your customers' most important factors. Buses arriving on time and fares are most important elements of service to your customers, and they're nearly equal in importance. Timeliness of travel. Customers are more satisfied with travel time at 83%, saying my bus gets me to my destination in a reasonable amount of time, versus on-time performance at 68%. Now we're going to move to paratransit. This was the first wave for, yes, sir?
Quick question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
On the, back to that, I guess it was page 4 where you had the detractors, passives, and promoters.
Correct.
I'm envisioning the promoters having like cheering pom-poms.
We had a lot of those.
Detractors with a frown on their face. So how do you determine those 3 categories?
It's on a scale of 0 to 10.
So if you're, if you just rate things in a negative way, you become a detractor?
That's correct. Yep, it all has to do with customer satisfaction.
Okay.
On a 0 to 10 score, how do you overall rate PSTA? Yep.
Thank you. Sorry for the
Absolutely. No, we're good. Paratransit, again, this is the first time we've done a paratransit survey, and this is new across the country for transit agencies. We're doing more and more of these. So kind of neat, and you guys did awesome, just so you know. So Voice of the Customer survey for DART, conducted July 23rd through August 9th, 2018. 280 surveys were completed by customers throughout the day on weekdays, Saturday, and Sunday. 91 of these surveys were done via email. 189 were done via a phone survey. Based on PSTA ridership totals, this survey sample is statistically valid, again, at 95% confidence level and a confidence interval of 5.68%. Customers were offered a single free ride for DART as an incentive for taking this survey. Overall results, PSTA Net Promoter Score for DART, 78.3%. Service availability and driving vehicles arriving on time are the most important elements for a customer. Customers are most satisfied, this is pretty impressive, getting to the destination in a reasonable amount of time, 98%, feeling safe when boarding the vehicle, 98%, and drivers securing the passenger's scooter or wheelchair, 98%. Customers are least satisfied with feeling safe when riding the vehicle at 55%. I've had a talk with PSTA, and obviously they're looking into this further, but it could be something as simple as defensive driving, other vehicles around the vehicle, since the other things scored so high. So more on that later, they'll be looking into that. Again, 280 surveys were completed. NPS score, this is the slide, again, it's promoters minus detractors, comes up with a score of 78%. Top importance factors, availability, and vehicles arriving on time are most important to your customers. Over 90% of passengers believe that drivers are helpful, courteous, and that the vehicles are well-driven, which brings us to the fact that that other score might be, elements outside of externally to the actual bus drivers. And overall satisfaction of drivers, 94%. That's pretty impressive. Any questions?
Any questions, anyone?
There is a full report. This is just the highlights. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. Last but not least is Trish Collins to give a very brief description of our employee results.
All right, thank you. Yes, I will be very brief. There's a full report of the employee engagement survey in your packets that goes through the entire survey, every question, all of the responses. I did. Oh, I turned off the mic. Thank you. All right, that's better. So employee engagement's obviously very important. It's evident when it's not in place. It has great business outcomes when it is in place. Employee engagement is when employees feel committed to the organization and its goals. It results and is linked to higher productivity, higher safety, lower turnover, lower absenteeism. We were very pleased with our response rate. More than 55% of our employees did respond to the survey. And we're particularly happy that so many of our mechanics and bus operators responded, given that they are typically off-site, they don't have email, they don't have a computer in front of them to respond. We did a very proactive outreach engagement effort over the course of a month to get their involvement to be sure that we were getting good information. The vendor that we used for this survey is CPS HR. They specialize in public employee engagement. So they are experts in this field. They were able to give us great insight and benchmarking. When we got our results, we saw that overall we are right in line with benchmarks for other public employers, both locally and nationally. More than 73% of our respondents said that they were fully engaged or somewhat engaged. That metric was derived through their answers to about 50 questions, so it did go into quite a bit of detail in the survey. So we're quite happy. 73% of our employees are somewhat or fully engaged, but of course we're challenging ourselves to do better. The survey was able to help us focus on the key drivers for engagement. What are the strategic areas where we can make the most impact in our employees' engagement levels? We recently had an executive level workshop where we selected leadership and managing change and resources and workload as the two strategic focus areas for our employee engagement strategy for fiscal year 2019. We will be retaking this survey next summer. We do expect and we're hoping to see a greater level of respondents and a greater number of employees who fall into that somewhat or fully engaged category. We did see that our employees very strongly responded positively to feelings about caring about their work, caring about the mission of the agency. Folks here feel that what we do is important and that their work is important to contributing to our mission. We do know that seeking for an improvement in employee engagement is more than a series of activities. It is really got to be baked into the culture of an organization. So we're creating and beginning to work through a strategic plan for employee engagement for the year. We have done a series of executive level workshops. We're rolling out focus groups to employees to better understand and dive deeper into some areas that came up as important in the survey. And we're committed to listening to what our employees have to say and making changes so that they see their voice matters and that we're all working together to make PSTA the best possible place it can be to work. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions, anyone? No? All right, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Trish,
Thanks,
for that
Trish.
excellent report. Brad?
I'll just, first of all, thank Trish and our consultants for conducting the surveys. Obviously, it's a lot to intake as board members, but rest assured that on all three surveys, there's a whole bunch of work now going on because those are going into our scorecard. So all different parts of the organization are looking into the different results as they apply, and there's a whole bunch of work, focus groups on different initiatives we want to take to improve those numbers year after year. I don't want to miss Cassandra giving you just a brief update about our very exciting project we're working on in Tarpon Springs because the ribbon cutting for the event is the day before our next board meeting, so in December.
Thank you very much. I am excited to announce new partnerships as we start to move our innovation programs forward. We were approached by the city of Tarpon Springs to look at our innovative programs in other parts of the county and bring that to a problem that they are having, bringing seniors to medical appointments. So this builds on our knowledge and our other projects, including the FTA Sandbox project for paratransit, and gives low-income seniors door-to-door access to medical appointments, pharmacies, and grocery stores. The residents of Tarpon Springs who are at 150% poverty or less would be eligible for this program, and they would apply through PSTA, and PSTA would make sure that their trips begin and end in Tarpon Springs and are to these qualifying destinations. We've also worked with the city staff to start the program with 2 round trips per month per eligible rider. So people would call in to the PSTA dispatch between 8 and 4:30. We would dispatch a ride either through Lyft, United Taxi, or wheelchair transport, depending on their needs. And they would get this free ride to a list of destinations. We are planning for the service to begin on December 3rd, with a ribbon cutting on Tuesday, December 4th at 10 a.m. One of the most exciting things about this program is the initial rides will be funded by the Florida Hospital of North Pinellas. And so that partnership, along with the city of Tarpon Springs, has been one of the reasons we're able to launch this project so quickly. PSTA will continue to provide support for the program and along with the city staff, make sure that it is well marketed to the seniors in Tarpon Springs. So we are very excited, and thank you to Commissioner Banther for all of his support of this project and all the other work that we're doing in Tarpon Springs.
Okay, do we have any questions? I see Commissioner Johnson. Go ahead, please.
How does this coordinate with transportation disadvantaged?
So we are using our transportation disadvantaged profiles that we have right now. People who are in the transportation disadvantaged program who are 65 years older, 65 years old or older, and living in Tarpon Springs would be eligible for this program on top of the TD program, just as this would be an add-on to the DART program if they were eligible for that.
So how did this go from TD to a different program?
This is the city
what I'm saying is we never heard about it in TD.
No, this is a program that is started by the city of Tarpon Springs specifically to take seniors to their medical appointments. So this is people who are TD eligible would also be eligible for this program, but it is funded by a partnership with the Florida Hospital.
We do think that this is a model. We think it'll be hopefully a success in Tarpon Springs, and then this will be a model that maybe could be used elsewhere in the county and thereby sort of increase the breadth of our TD, Transportation Disadvantage Program. These folks are eligible for Transportation Disadvantage, but rather than having our limited funds for Transportation Disadvantage, if we could partner with other hospitals as well, that just adds to the overall program.
Okay, I would hope that someone would bring that to the TD board.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think we have a plan to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Banther?
Yes, thank you, and I want to thank staff for working so hard on this. I know it's a big initiative of our current mayor. Tarpon Springs does have, I think, within the county, some of the most densely populated low-income seniors, especially in the US 19 corridor. And these people, I think, are those that PSTA is underserved simply because of a lack of resources. So I think that this is a great innovative way that we can serve those individuals to get from point A to point B for very necessary items. And even better thing yet is, like was mentioned, that Florida Hospital in Tarpon Springs is putting up $20,000, right? $20,000 for this program, and I hope that this is being modeled elsewhere in the county where there's disadvantaged seniors that need more innovative ways to get to their doctor's appointments. So again, thank you to staff and the board. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Commissioner Rice?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This sounds great. This sounds really intriguing. For other cities that would be interested in modeling this, I mean, this isn't a pilot project, correct? My question is, would you prefer us to wait and see how this goes before trying to model it elsewhere? And then if we were to do that, then do we get into an issue of there being like a patchwork of how different cities take this up? And does it just make sense to have more of a countywide approach?
I think we wanted to see how this program was going to start. That's why we started only at 2 rides per month, just to see how it works and how people take advantage of it. We are dealing in this situation with a very targeted market for service, but we would be open to looking at this in other areas very soon.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Rice. Commissioner Jones, Patty? Sorry, I can't.
That's okay. I believe that Ross is here. I see you back there waving. And I just was curious to find out how many of the people that are eligible for this program that were already or would be, if we knew, serving.
Thanks, Patty. That's something we're going to be looking at in the next couple of weeks to see how many people this will cover who are already on the TD program. Because it's not been funded by the TD Commission, we haven't brought it to the LCB first, but it's something we will bring to the next meeting and let you know the answer to that question about how many people were already eligible who were able to serve from TD.
Okay, my concern is, just as I've brought to you before, that while we're here and we have the ability to do so, our message is not being spread where it needs to go.
We have been working with the city for some time. We held 2 senior events at their senior centers to advertise both the TD program and the DART program. And so we have been doing other outreach outside of this program to see if there are other people in that area who could use the program as it stands today. So we are doing outreach in addition to this in that area to get people the services that they need.
Thank you, Cassandra. Okay. Brett, do you want to give the performance updates?
Thank you. I will be very brief. In your packet are our traditional performance reports. Not something we're necessarily going to be promoting from the rooftops, but we actually saw a ridership increase in the month of September. But it helps when you have a hurricane shut you down for 4 days the previous year to get that increase. I did want to highlight a couple of accomplishments. Last week we were in Daytona for the Florida Public Transit Association conference, and we won some marketing awards. We won a first place award for our 300X Airport Express marketing program for the bus that now goes to the airport. And I feel we got completely robbed by getting a second place award for our very fun Appy Hour that we had to launch our new app, our transit app, which I know Mr. Bennett came to down in St. Pete at Green Branch Brewery about a year ago. Somehow we came in second. Aww. And I need to talk to the chair. Oh, that was me. So I don't know how that happened. Also, just yesterday I learned, and somehow Chair Long learned almost, I think, before me, that the Florida DOT is doing triennial review audits of transit systems for the first time in a while. And we had our audit this past week, and we came out with flying colors with no findings, which was really amazing because I heard from my transit brethren at the conference that several other transit systems had gotten quite a few findings. So hats off to our great finance team and grants team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Last but not least, I just want to highlight that it is a very busy schedule. If you are interested in participating in any of these events, let me know. I can give you more info. At your places again on Monday is the Ronald McDonald celebration with a big size golf check for $6,000 down there in St. Pete. And then on Wednesday is the graduating luncheon at Cafe Pont for Leadership PSTA. We also have a T-BARTA meeting on Friday. That's over at FDOT. Unfortunately, you can either go to the Ronald McDonald Fun thing, or you can go to the Port of Tampa Bay to talk about regional MPO coordination, which is also, I'm sure, going to be a very fun event on Monday. Then on Wednesday, Halloween, is a Cross Bay Ferry VIP trip across the water, with the service actually starting on November 1st, on next Thursday. Followed by Friday, a Tampa Bay TMA meeting, which is the MPOs getting together, and that's going to be right here at PSTA. So a lot of things in the next just couple weeks to be aware of. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you. And board members, any final comments that you would like to share today? Anyone? Joe?
I just again would like to thank James Bradford and his team and Mr. Smith and his team on achieving an outstanding result with regard to our contract negotiations. We want to make sure that we protect our employees and attract new employees, and we want to also at the same time make sure that we're well within budgetary constraints that we face. And this was an excellent job by both teams, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think one of the things that really struck me about today's meeting is how the success of PSTA depends so much on our relationship with our employees, with the community, and with our ridership. And with some of the things highlighted in today's meeting with Leadership PSTA, the SEIU agreement, the surveys of our customers, the community and employees, this is all very intentional. I remember 4 years ago when we just started to go through the Path Forward mission statement, and we have gotten to this point by very intentional step over the last several years. And you know, if it's not measured, it's not managed. And I just see that over the last few years that the culture of PSTA has really transformed. And it's really nice to see how this success plays out. And I'm just really proud to be a member of this board. And we can't pat ourselves on the back or get too complacent, but I'm really proud of the meeting we had today and how far we've come. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Peckers?
Yeah, well, you just about said the things that I was going to say, so thank you for that. I think the surveys are really good tools, and at some point, I don't know whether it's a workshop, I don't know if we do workshops or not, but it'd be a good thing to have a little more dive into each of those areas. But that was great. I want to congratulate the graduating class as well as the new class. I think that's just a super way to develop talent in your organization, so good job, Brad. And with that, I also wanted to welcome Vince and David to the board. Look forward to your engagement and your work, and I think you'll be good additions, and also congratulations to James Bradford and the team. And just one final comment, I did want to make just a special thank you to Brian Scott. I think there was a lot of nice things said about him, but you know, this is a businessman who has so many other things to do in his world, like many of us, but he decided he wanted to give back to his community and stepped up. And he was really an invaluable member of this board in so many ways. Perhaps a tad conservative financially for some. I shared his views on a lot of that, but most importantly, he brought a lot of his own traveling experiences and traveling knowledge of technology and from around the world, and he brought it back to our board here, and he brought it back to our finance committee, and just can't thank him enough for taking 6 years out of his life to give to this. And so I think there's a lot of folks out there that can look at him as a good model, a role model, and get involved in giving back to your community. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Commissioner Banter?
Yes, thank you. Two things. First, I wanted to say, I think leadership, though leadership PSTA is a wonderful thing. I did leadership Pinellas, a little bit different, obviously, but I thought that was one of the best things I did in my professional life. So I think it's wonderful that we have that program within. And what better way to know people that want to step up, as been said, and to see leaders inside our organization. I like that I guess we heard that in the program they're bringing in out, outside people as well, doing your 360 assessments. So I just think that that's a wonderful thing as well. Second off, as you know, my term here ends in March because I'm termed out in Tarpon Springs. I have asked that the mayor work with our board in appointing my replacement sooner than later, so they can start coming to meetings in the audience to get kind of caught up. I'm assuming that'll be Commissioner Sieber. Obviously, it's the board's vote. That's my assumption. So hopefully they will do that before my term's out, so she can come on and help make this transition easier. As I know with the board, that the seat I'm in representing 3 cities, we don't serve for 6 years on this board. So I think that would help bring her on more quickly. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? All right, then for the good of the order, we are adjourned. Please join me in the lobby for a few minutes and some photo ops. Thank you.
Closer and then we can later.
Oh, sure.
Right now we shook hands.
I'm just, we forget where we come from. We were like on the ropes. I didn't want to say that, but